personal power, people positive, the community of connection. This is the Bob Jeswald Show.
So, MeShorn, it's MeShorn, right? Is that how you say it? Or
MeShorn.
MeShorn, okay. Is it
MeShorn.
French? Sounds...
M-E-S-H-O-R-N.
Gotcha.
MeShorn.
Yeah, MeShorn Daniels.
And it is French. It is French. It's my father's middle name.
Okay.
The story is that my grandmother named my father Clyde because the French owners were Clydesdale owners of horses.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And his name was MeShorn. And so my grandmother gave my father the middle name and named him Clyde from Clydesdale horses. Ain't that something?
Love it. Je m'appelle Robert. C'est all. Je m'appelle Robert. Ça va. Très bien.
So
Yeah.
it is very fitting that I would want to follow the bloodline or the story that, I don't identify myself as Negro, Black, and African American. That's
Sure
what my book is all about. I'm not your Black America.
Did you notice how I tripped up when I was talking about Jerry Pops Barnes? I said I started thinking I had African American Black. I was trying to just fit it for you. Am I saying it right?
Because it's a growing thing. Okay,
Sure.
It's with the comedies, like you said, I actually like that you said about putting stories out there that's not been heard before and something to cause people to think. Well, that's what I'm about. I've realized when I joined the military and became a surgical technologist, I went into a field that was dominant European environment. It was a dominant majority environment. And I grew up in Miami. My mother, put me in the military because of some trials and tribulations. It's in my book, things I was going on and everything. But she sheltered me from traditional, what I call Black religion. And because I didn't have the traditional Black religion, I didn't get the traditional indoctrination of Black religion. And and I find this very strange.
Sure.
A lot of people don't realize, especially people outside our culture, if you don't go through the traditional, what we call methodology of what it is to be Black, the color of your skin don't make you Black. What makes you Black is your behavior, your thinking, and the things that you actually believe in, and how you process this, and how you culturally how we kind of interact with one another. What my mother did with me is she sheltered me from all of that. And I didn't realize it until I went into the military. And the first time I heard someone tell me, yo, bro, you're not Black. I was like, what? What do you mean? Nah, bro. Where you from, Miami? What do you mean? You from Miami? Dude, you don't talk Black. You don't, bro, what's wrong with you?
See right where it's going.
And that was bro, it was a shocking to me. Okay, so my first 4 years in the military was spent learning how to be Black.
There you go. Go figure, right? You can look in the mirror, you can look at your face, and somebody will see you. And we know, when people say, you've heard people say, I look at you and I don't see that you're of color. Well, of course.
Oh yeah, right. Yes,
that's silliness, right? And it's not what you're saying. You're merely saying, again, I like this because even culturally, I just got back at the time of this podcast. One of my colleagues had lost her brother. She's Black, and she's a very proud Black woman. She's a sorority sister. She's a Delta. She's a SWAR, she would say, and she's very comfortable in that. And I'm Italian American, and I am. I mean, I guess my grandfather was real proud to be Italian, a hard worker, but we try, I hate the stereotypes of, your mafia, you're this, and that, and the other. Although there are people that I know in the family that did things that probably weren't right, but I was never like that. I know people, but it was never directed. I was always told, be your best, Bobby. Get out of, don't do this. And I've heard that growing up. Through this church that I went to right before this, it was actually a funeral home, and it happens to be predominantly Black, and it's actually run by a Black owner, and the AME pastor was there, and it was great. I'm a Catholic, so when you go to a Catholic, there's so much tradition in that. There's like, you would know exactly where it's headed, what it's going, what you're going to say, the verses. But this pastor, this young pastor,
very regimental.
Oh yes, this guy was so spot on about. I didn't even know. I know his sister, and that's why out of respect I went there. But this guy, in the coffin, didn't know Christopher at all. I'll say that, and he spoke so eloquently and even admitted I didn't know him, but when he spoke of the words of Jesus Christ and the Pharisees and the Jew and Jesus Christ going up to the well and asking the Pharisee woman to, could you please give me some water? We can't do that. We're two different, we don't get along. I mean, we're two different people.
Right.
And he brought that in and talked about how our times in our life, we're going to cross things that we were uncomfortable with, but we're forced to do it. No matter what, like Jesus Christ was. He was forced to go right through Samaria. Who the heck wants to go through an area that's volatile? Like you and I aren't going to go, you're a black guy, I'm a white guy. I worked in Jackson, Mississippi. Still doing some civil rights stuff with Byron D. Lake Beck with trial.
Bobby, Bobby, Bobby going to have, one of the biggest things you're going to learn about me is that I'm going to contradict that you just said.
That's why I want you to,
I'm not your black guy. And you know what, Bobby, when I see you, you're not that white guy.
Good.
When I see you, Bobby, I see the idea of the color construct. Yes, is it a color construct in our country?
Yeah.
Most definitely. The color construct was based on color. But one of the biggest things that I learned is that I realized is that color construct is based on an ideology that was meant to make somebody seem superior, and the other to feel inferior or less than or not human. And so when I started going into the medical field, and I was just telling you, I had just learned how to be quote unquote black. That people was, I had to learn how to use the very colorful terminology. I didn't used to curse.
Right.
Okay, I had to learn how to drink.
Right.
And everything, and I had to learn how to have multiple women. Okay.
So your mom sent you to the army to get away from all this. We polluted you. What happened?
She sent me to the military to get away from all that, and I went in the military and got indoctrinated.
That's amazing.
All of that.
Well,
because I couldn't navigate in an environment with the color of my skin, with the surrounding around people without understanding what it was to be black. Okay.
Right. Sure.
So I had to go and learn how to be black. And Bobby, I have to tell you.
I love that you call me Bobby. That shows who you are. I love that. By the way, I appreciate that.
Bobby, I got a story to tell you about Bobby, because it's interesting that your name is Bobby, because I got a childhood story about a Bobby who was an Italian in my life and everything. But make sure I remind me to tell you that story.
Oh, yeah,
you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Okay.
So what happened, Bobby, I spent all this great time learning how to be black. Got down with it.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
Man, you couldn't tell me. Got the swagger, got it all down. Woohoo. People was like giving me high fives. Dude, I was in it. Had all the women and everything, dude. And after getting all that down, I was ready to get out the military and come back home to Miami. And thank God, my godfather, Perry Anderson, asked me, why you getting out the military? Why you coming home? You should find something to do in the military and find you. Go do you.
Okay.
And so because I was, young and infatuated into the women, guess where I wanted to go? I wanted to go where the women were.
Mm-hmm. And we're in Miami.
In the military, in the military, all the women is in the medical field.
See, that's because they're nurses. Is this right? And they're the ones,
techs,
everything.
All the women.
I've heard this story before, and there's nothing wrong with it, because you're seeing more male nurses and then more male guys in the field of that, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants. You go on and on, but there was once upon a time that you would think that career is associated with having to be that gender of a woman, to be in that field, and so you take it upon yourself to say, how am I going to find women? That's an educated woman. That's a caring woman. That's a woman who gives of herself. This is a good thing.
I wish I was that deep.
They're less inhibited. Are they less inhibited?
Okay. I wish I was that deep. Dude, you're giving me way too much.
Is that how much credit? Because I'm thinking, I'm trying to preserve it for your mom.
No, dude. I was all about trying to get with the ladies. Okay. And when I say get with the ladies,
Yeah, you meant,
I'm
yes.
talking about getting with the ladies.
Okay.
But here's a funny thing I want you to understand. When my mother placed me into the military, Bobby,
Yeah.
I didn't know I bombed. This is an ASVAB test. You got to take the aptitude test. Well, come to find out, when I took my test, I was 17 when I took it, went in when I was 18. Well, come to find out, when I went back to the military to change my MOS, the career counselor told me, looked at my records and said, well, can I just be honest with you? I said, what? I don't know how you became a cook with these grades. What do you mean? Your scores is so bad. You scored under 50. I mean, my scores is that bad.
So a good score is like 400 on those? What's like a really an exceptional?
No, brother, no. It's between 50 to 90, 91, 100. The deal is, the deal is that after the military test is about showing where you can go to be used in the military.
Gotcha.
So the lower your score, you go into infantry, which if you go infantry, that means that you're expendable.
And you're non-commissioned officer is what happens.
And you don't become an officer, you become an enlisted, and you become expendable.
Right.
So what I realized that I had to do something different is that I had to raise up my score. And so I had to go to night school, Bobby. I had to go to night school because I didn't have the score to go into the, and the lady said, listen up, you can't go into the medical field with these scores. You're going to have to raise your score up. So I went to school. It wasn't got the nights.
Instead of taking defeats, you just went for it.
Got it over 91. Got it over 91. They gave me a list, and I looked at all the schools and I saw the one that says surgical technologist, but they had me read the one about cleaning instruments, and preparing the supplies, and I thought, sure, I can do that. So I raised my hand and I enlisted for that. Now, Bobby, I want you to listen to this.
Okay.
It's very important. I had no clue what a surgical technologist was. Even though when I said it, you should have at least an idea, surgical technologist. But at the time,
sounds good. Sounds really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, surgical technologist. Yeah. I had no clue what surgical technologist was. And so here I was, I enlisted, I couldn't go to school for 6 months, but they allowed me to go to the hospital that Monday. I enlisted that Friday. That Monday, I showed up at the hospital where they allowed me to work in what we call Central Material Supply, CMS, where processing instruments and everything. So I was doing exactly what I read. But Bobby, you're going to like this. I was in the supplies with the other technicians and everything, and they were all women. And I was in hog heaven. I was like, whoo, and I was talking up a storm. And then the white sergeant called me into his office, closed the door. He said, you have no idea what you re-enlisted for, do you? I said, sure. Yeah, sure. He said, what are you re-enlisted for? I said, surgical technologist. He said, do you even know what that is? Yes, I'm doing it. I'm right here. I'm learning. He said, no, this is the secondary. This is secondary. This is not the primary. This is the secondary. If you don't pass the primary, you never get to the secondary. So what do you mean? He said, oh my God.
This guy,
he said,
he's a lost cause.
This guy don't have no clue. What? He didn't really. So he took me up to the operating room floor and he had me dress out. And this is the first time. Now, hear me, Bobby.
Okay.
Now remember, I come from Miami. I just was a cook for 4 years. I've just learned how to, talk the native tongue of slang and be down with the bros and everything. Right. I done a serious transitioning of all this. And this was the first time I had went into an environment where it was not a nobody in that whole operating room looked it like me.
Oh gosh. So you're like, whoa.
So not only did I not see nobody in there that looked like me, but the smell. Have you ever been to an operating room?
Yes, I've been operated on. I was always starting to go under, but yes, I've had a couple surgeries.
Okay,
Definitely.
so if you have surgery, but I want to tell it from the professional aspect of it. Working in an operating room, there is an environment, is the smell, the aesthetic, cleanliness. It's like you walk into a whole new, sheltered quarantine environment. Okay, so I've never smelled nothing like this before. I never felt, and it's cold too. So I walked into, so they brought me to the operating
sterile,
room, put
very
a mask
sterile,
on me,
yeah.
put me in the mask, put me in the cap, put me in the right attire, brought me into the operating room, and the first surgeon, like, remember what I told you, Bobby, don't fall out now. Listen up. What did I say what I was attracted to? I said women, right?
Women.
Okay. Well, the first surgery that I seen was a total vaginal hysterectomy.
Oh, come on. You got full woman on that one, Bubba.
Do you know what a total vaginal hysterectomy
I don't even want to think about it. I know it's taking everything out of the woman, her woman all.
It's called dusting and cleaning. Okay.
Oh my gosh. It's DNC would be minor. This is beyond. This is beyond.
And Bobby,
you got what you wished for. You got what you wished for and some.
Bobby, I passed out.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
I passed out in the operating room. And when they was waking me up, I woke up to all these white people around me laughing at me. Sure. And they were reassuring me, don't feel bad. People do it all the time. Yeah. And it's the truth. Now, I do need to tell you, for those listening to this, there is a truth. Sure. I did not know at the time, but I experienced what I saw once I got into the field. I've seen multiple other people fall out. Something that I had experienced initially. I've seen multiple people fall out who have never seen the operating room, never seen blood, they fell out. You know what it is? See, our mind is like a computer. These scary movies they show on TV, they said that is fake. Right. Because if your mind cannot process it, blood will rush up from your legs, and it will overflow your brain, and you passes out. Yeah, that's because your mind has to process what it's seen and understand. And if it can't process it, the white blood cells. I didn't realize.
It's crazy to think how there's a biological thing here. This is not just mental. It's physical.
Right.
It's physical.
Right. It's something. So for me, think about it. A kid came from where I come from. Never seen such an environment. Just learned how to talk what I consider the native tongue of being black. Yeah. And now here I'm in an environment where nobody in there smelling the smell, seeing what I'm doing. My mental capacity was overloaded.
Gosh. Let me add this real quick here. Author MeShorn Daniels, again, we're talking to right here on the Bob Jeswald Show. Amazing, talking about labels, talking about how he entered the military, retired as a sergeant first class in E7, and again, a story as a surgical tech. He went into something and never thought he would experience that. And these labels that you're talking about, trying to get in with women, is amazing to me. They're everywhere. But this is what caught me real quick. And as we debut your book too, we're going to be talking about some of the challenges in here that you discuss in the book and what you've been through. But the moniker Uncle MeShorn, for something that you don't like labels, is that something, I know it's a play in words a little bit, but Uncle MeShorn, you think of Uncle Tom, because here you, or is it because you were thinking of yourself like people said, hey man, you're not a real black guy, you're from Miami, you sound white. Is that what you were experiencing with that? Is that where that came about? What is your point of making on that?
Well, Bobby, great question. And the truth of the matter is that the Uncle MeShorn first started because the family dynamics that I come from a very dysfunctional family. And so with that being said, I had been separated from my sister for over 20 years. Okay. And so I finally found her, and she had children and everything. So I traveled with my mother and my wife to Atlanta to see her, and she had her children with her. And so when I walked in and everything, and she she introduced me as Uncle MeShorn.
Okay.
Okay, so there I was introduced to Uncle MeShorn. But it's the events that took place that signified Uncle MeShorn and the type of Uncle MeShorn that I was. So being I had not seen my sister in over 20 years, and here I am now in the presence of my nieces. She had 8 girls and 1 boy. Okay, so here I am with all these nieces. Okay, under the age of 10 at the time. No, under the age of 12 at the time. Hey, I'm doing like anybody, like an uncle. I come there. They wanted to go to the store and everything. Bam,
sure,
I paid for it. They wanted to go to the ice cream place. Bam, I paid for it.
Heck yeah.
They wanted to go to the movies.
Uncle's
I'm
taking
making
care
it
of
rain.
me.
I'm making it rain. Okay, hey, I pull up with this nice Cadillac. I'm looking. I'm looking like fresh new money. All right.
You look like a guy that could be in Tyler Perry Studios here in Atlanta, Georgia. To be like, this guy must be an actor.
So I had no clue. So I'm driving. We on our way back, and I hear one of my nieces says, "Aunt Jackie," that's my wife. "Aunt Jackie, can we come live with you and Uncle MeShorn?" And my wife was, "Oh, baby, sure, honey, no problem, no big deal." And so we spend about 3 to 4 days there, and so we packing up. Getting ready to go to the car and everything. And I'm seeing 2 of my nieces, luggage and everything, coming out to the car.
Oh, my gosh. They literally came out here. Oh, geez. We weren't expecting this. We were not expecting this.
I said, "Where y'all going?" "And Jackie said, we can come live with you." My wife, because my wife had just met my sister. I'm like, I just want to say, I didn't mean today.
Yeah.
I didn't mean like now.
So this is what happens with Uncle MeShorn when he comes in.
I know. My sister had prepared these kids to come with us. So my wife says to her, she says, "I don't even know you like that. What kind of mother would send their kid off with a woman?" What? I said, hold up. I said, "Uncle MeShorn." I said, "I got it. I'm Uncle MeShorn. These kids was trying to get away. They was in a 2-bedroom apartment."
That's right.
Okay.
I know. That's exactly what it was.
Uncle MeShorn, they didn't care about they didn't care about anything other than Uncle MeShorn made it rain, and we're trying to go with them. And we laughed about it all the way back. Uncle MeShorn became the figurehead to them, and if they didn't know anything else, they knew who Uncle MeShorn was. So that's where the whole started.
Yeah, see, I love that. Okay, so that part of the memoir we know. Yeah, you were saying too. Do they know? Does your family members know with this memoir? I'm not your Black America, especially today. What's going on? We know there's so much going on. How would you say that? I mean, at the time of this podcast, we just got past Juneteenth. And anyone knows history should understand a little bit. Are you that kind of America? Do you want everyone to know and make sure they understand what happened with our country after the Civil War, during the Civil War, after? Are you in that space? Or you're not your Black America because you don't want to be that. You want to be who you are. Don't have to put a label. You don't have to be something forcefully. Like, I'm Italian. I don't have to, every time I see someone, when I go back home, "Hey, what you guys doing? What about," you kind of get into that routine, but does that really mean? It's not my vernacular all the time, but it is when I'm at home. Is it okay to do that? Is that what you're saying? Or do you want to kind of dispel all that? Just be yourself. Be, like MeShorn said, I want you to be you. I want you to be who you are, despite the color or your ethnic background. Would that be so? Yeah, I'm not you.
So Bobby, you. I don't know how much you read my book, so let me explain to you. So after the experience with that, I also was involved with a gentleman that wrote this book called America's Little Black Book, Dr. Noah Shelton. And in that book, when I read that book, America's Little Black Book by Dr. Noah Shelton, I discovered something. He said that we're not Negro, Black, or African Americans. He said when this country was formed, way before 1776, in Jamestown, Virginia, there were slaves that had arrived there, enslaved from Africa. There was a melting pot, enslaved Africans that had arrived there, and their offsprings were being born in condition of slavery. So they before people don't even really understand this.
Sure, right.
The movie Roots, movie Roots. You know the movie Roots?
Yes, sure do.
The movie
yeah.
Roots, the movie Roots is based on before America formed in 1776. A lot of people don't understand that. Right. So those slaves, when America fought against the Britain and everything, there were some that went with the Britain, and there were some that decided to come to America. Well, when those slaves that came, this is what he's talking about in his book. These slaves that came to America should have been considered American slaves.
Gotcha.
Not Negro, not Black, not African American, not none of those languages and things that was said to them. But the dominant European culture at the time were more interested in trying to control their capitalism, the economic backgrounds that they were thought that was more important to them at the time. So how do you do that? Those 15 original Southern states, they couldn't imagine giving up their slaves to make them equal to them. So they made them 3/5 a human. And so the terminology American slave is the true identity of who we are.
This is
we are not Negroes, Blacks, and African Americans. We are descendants of American slaves, 1619 to 1865. So to answer your question, yes, Juneteenth is very much important, but not based on the way that everybody believing it to be. It's not based on the way that it's been written in the book. It's based on the fact that for the first time, our men, Bobby, let me say
this is before Civil War. See, people are thinking Civil War time. It's over the war. No, it's not. That's not.
No.
Yeah.
The condition is what identified their identity, not what America or the dominant European culture named them. Let me say that again. The condition of their birth. They were birthed as slaves in what country? America. That makes them American slaves. Right. Okay. Yeah. Do that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so those American, those American slaves that entered into 1776, they were labeled wrong all the way up to 1865. They were labeled wrong. They should have always been considered American slaves. And then from 1866 all the way to 2019, they should have been identified as descendants of American slaves. And now, after 1619 to 2019, 400 years. Now, Bobby, stop. Let me hold up. We just had this is a 400.
Yeah.
1619 to 2019 is 400 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Bible said? My people will wander in a strange land that's not their own. Come on, dude. I'm just saying what I'm saying.
Amen. Okay? That's right. What does that tell you? That's prophetic. Yeah.
1619 to 29. Oh, but Bobby, what happened in 2020? Bobby, are you ready?
Yeah.
I hope you're listening.
Yeah.
What happened in 2020?
We had COVID.
Pandemic.
Now look what happens. Yep.
Hold on, Bobby. But slaves is the reason. What did the pandemic shut down? The pandemic shut down capitalism all across everything. The whole world.
Well, yep. Turn it down. We were stuck at home.
Slaves, come on, man, Bobby. You're not getting the epiphany here.
Yeah.
The epiphany is that. Do you think that was a coincidence?
No. I totally agree. I think it's providence. Absolutely, because you think of it's the same thing as the Israelites. You look at it's the same thing. The captivity. We were captive. We became. Who do we become enslaved to now? Everybody. To what happened with COVID in 20, we are now in a place of having to rely. We lost everything. I mean, we lost the way of doing things. And here it is again, prophetic as it may be. It's an eye opener. It's almost like I think of it as like a great test, but it is something that people got to see and understand. You know who we really are. I mean, this put everybody on the same page.
America has the opportunity. Let me say it a third time. America has the opportunity to make themselves greater than they ever been and ever was. You know why, Bobby? It's because the fact is, what demographics of men, husbands, and fathers did not participate in writing the Constitution. Our demographics of men did not participate in the writing or putting together the United States Constitution. And so our men now, for the first time, we are evolving from 1619 all the way to the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement after 1960 is the first time. I don't know if you understand about this. Is where the medical side of me comes in.
Sure, I'm listening.
That's why I believe that's why I really understand the medical side of me. The medical side of me tells me is that I understand that we are just now evolving as a demographic of men, because culturally our men were altered from being able to really take care of their wives, their children, and everything, because of the fact that we were not allowed. I'm going to say it for our balls was not allowed to drop as natural heterosexual men able to take care. That didn't start happening until us born after 1960. What year are you born?
65. 100 years
65.
after 1865.
You're born the same year as my wife.
Yeah.
So I'm born in 1961. So Bobby, I am part of the last of the baby boomer generation.
Sure.
Those born after 1960 to 64, we are the last of the baby boom generation. But I'm also part of that generation that those children were born in the period of time that men didn't have to be concerned about being lynching. Men didn't have to be concerned about their wives cannot. So men, though, I grew up in a period of time, I never experienced anyone of European descent calling me an N-word. I got being called the N by people that look like me. Oh, you didn't get that.
Yeah, no, see, but that's interesting, because culturally now, this is what, especially somebody who's I've used the thing, that is somebody who's not black, and you're hearing more and more of it just being said even amongst white kids, and white to black friends, or black to black, or white. It's out of control. It puts me off, because even like WAP or Dago, Greaseball, I heard all these things as a kid growing up, some of them being Italian, having derogatory connotation, but they don't know. This generation does not understand the gravity of this. They have no clue when you use that N-word. And it's in music. It's just flowing around freely. Like, it's just.
And that is why my book was written to say James Baldwin actually said, "I'm not your Negro." Now, when you investigate and understand why James Baldwin was saying it, James Baldwin was really saying, "I'm not your N."
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
He was right. Yeah. And I want you to understand, I'm actually saying the same thing, but I'm saying I'm not your black.
Right.
See.
It's
a metaphor.
That is a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
Sure.
It's a metaphor. But who am I? So who am I writing my book to? I didn't write my book. If you read my book, my book is not written in a way that it sounds like I'm talking to my demographics of people immediately. No, I'm not.
It's a memoir.
I'm speaking to the dominant European culture who initiated the word N-word. Did you catch that, Bobby?
Yeah, I caught that.
Say that again.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking. See, I can't speak to my demographics of people because we didn't name ourselves.
You didn't name that, right?
We didn't name ourselves the N-word. We didn't name ourselves any of that. Okay, it's the dominant European culture that put those labels on us. So my book says, "I'm not your black America. I'm not speaking to my demographics of people. I'm speaking to those people that can pass, those people who first initiated white, and everyone who can pass is white." Now, Bobby, I'm going to say something to you, man. This is where I think now I can tell the story. Before I knew I was going to write it, I was a kid growing up, used to get picked on in school all the time. Whatever it is, I was slow. I was very slow. So slow that
when you say slow, what do you mean slow? Physically, or you're talking about mentally?
Mentally, I was slow. Mentally, I started slow. And you got to know where my book.
Yeah,
I was abused in the early part of my life.
You had a tough. Your childhood was
speaking.
Yeah. So you
my
it was
childhood,
a speech. You had a speech delay, and I'm speaking so people
I
understand.
was just mentally slow. So all through my childhood, I always got picked on all the time. even in junior high school, I got picked on. But here's an interesting thing, and I get a little emotional about this, and really I'm a little bit emotional about it because your name is Bobby.
Yeah.
I'm a little.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind telling you, it's a little emotional for me right now to even say it, but I think it's time for me to tell this part.
Sure, let's hear it now.
I got picked on so much in school all the time not by people that were white, but I got picked on by people who looked like me all the time, stole my money, beat me up all the time. And brother, for whatever reason, this Italian kid, Bobby.
That's crazy. I can tell
one
you.
One day in homeroom, man. I just said, give me a little more. One day in homeroom, Bobby. Let me tell you who Bobby was. Bobby was the most popular kid in the whole darn school. Bobby can get any woman he wanted. I mean, he was that popular. He was just that popular and everything. And we shared the same homeroom together. That's the only time we was in the classroom together, homeroom. And on this day, I don't know why Bobby stuck his neck out for me for this one day. Bobby told them to leave me alone.
Wow. Yeah, I'm with you. Amen to that, man. That's a great.
Bobby, let me just tell you, dude. I don't know. Like it seemed like it went across the whole school. After Bobby told them to leave me alone, he got on them. Why are you always messing with Sean? He ain't done anything. Leave him alone. Stop it.
Yeah,
leave him alone.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, dude, but after that, it's not like I became like cool, but no one picked on me no more after that. Anymore.
It's all it takes is one person to stand up like that and do that.
Oh my God! So that's why I'm a little emotional about this view, your name being Bobby, man, because I'm like, oh my God.
I definitely wasn't. I definitely couldn't get any girl. I could say that. Although I'd like to think I was most unforgettable voted, but I wear my heart on my sleeve and I love everybody. And the popularity was good, but I always felt that it was a nice gift. But I can't stand anybody getting picked on. Even to this day, there was a defense. Even my one friend, I always wonder if Kurt would be listening to this. Kurt Adamczyk is his name, and I know he flies medical. He's a medical. He's like a tech kind of like, but he flies in the air in helicopters in Western New York, and Buffalo. And we were at a movie theater, and these kids, he's blind in one eye, so his one eye was kind of looked like a lazy eye, was a glass eye, so his eye would, kids were going, oh, what are you looking at and doing that? And I remember I looked at him. I said, what did you just say to him? And just anybody. I always felt the need to do that because that's probably one of the worst things to see a kid bullying. That is the worst thing. So I feel with that Bobby guy, whoever said, and I don't know, maybe because he's Italian or what. I'm very outspoken. I'm never afraid to say what I'm feeling. I'll stand up for what's right. I've had a situation. I won't get into my story, but even locally here with a girl getting admonished at a deli, at a local department store here, and she was of color, and a guy used the N-word to her. True story. In fact, there's Axel's here, my producer. You know the little poster? It's in there. It says, "This guy, watch out." Him and Bob hit a crossword. He knows. You could tell him that. This is years ago, and this young lady now who she was with me, I looked at him. I go, "What did you just say to her?" You know, and I'm like, "This is what's wrong with our country. You get a couple guys like this, or just in general, somebody picking on somebody. Just take the time and just stand up what's right. And like you said, the bullies will back off, and it looked like the majority of them had no backbone. But it's funny how the masses left MeShorn alone. So that's Bobby, a great story.
And
great story.
I take that story and I apply it to my life. And you know what I've done? I learned how to stand up for the little guy.
That's awesome.
Okay?
And once you do, it empowers you.
I learned how to stand up for, and then when I became an NCO, you know, I never wanted to become an officer. You know, I think officers was privilege there. I wanted to be that bottom up.
That's
guy.
What my late father-in-law said. he's like he was an E9. He was a command sergeant major, but he's just like you. He says, "I'm not kissing nobody."
My best friend was a command sergeant major. Matter of fact, it was because of the sergeant major I made my E7, my best friend.
That's awesome.
I've always non-commissioned officers care about the bottom-up people. So what I realized when I came out of the military into the civilian sector, working as a surgical technologist in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm going to tell you what really helped me, drove me to writing my book. So here I am. I become a surgical technologist in the military, but that's in the military. I had to still come to Louisville, Kentucky. I had never been a civilian. I went into the military when I was 17. So I had never lived as a civilian. Okay, so here I am now getting out the military and coming to live as a civilian, as a surgical technologist. Louisville, Kentucky has its own history and its own racial baggage and the natives and everything. What I did not know is that in the 90s, this is crazy to even say that in the 90s, there were people, I went to this reserve unit to go into the unit. There were people that looked like me, Bobby, that could not get promoted in this unit. And when I arrived there, the sergeant had already told me that when I get there, because my points should have been high enough for me to be able to get promoted, that I was going to be able to get promoted at the next promotion list that came out. Should I turn this? I think my clock.
That's fine. It's 3 o'clock. Well, the time, which is funny, the 3 o'clock chime, Eastern time or 2 Central, if you're on Central time, I think you're on Eastern time too, means that we do got to wrap up because we're usually by half. We can go on. You and I need to do part 2 on this. I'm just not kidding.
I can tell.
Because we got to do a part 2 because I got to run to another one. But folks, I want folks to know you are the most clear-cut, honest guy. I love it. I love you because you are who you are. That's the best part. If anyone doesn't,
I try to be authentic, brother.
Yeah, this is beyond even what you're writing about in your memoir. I'm not your Black America, but you give so many points that can help anybody out. And I want everyone to know his book is this whole idea in your book is it's being debuted is through your own story, your own eyes. You heard it here today, everybody. MeShorn Daniels has been very clear. I want you to really deep dive into this and find more about it. Would you definitely come back and we can talk about to achieve this goal and just talk about more of these tips. I want the readers to go in there, unlearn to relearn. You're going to find out everything you thought you knew. MeShorn will debunk that like he did today. And we might just get away from the N-word as we talked about today. God be with us. Every life is created by God. And that's the key. He loved it and it was perfect. When people say, if you don't even believe in that, when he created it, and we all know that, those who are in their faith, he created it and it was good. Everything was good. All the races were good. You were good. I was good. We were all good. So you stand on good principles, sir. Thank you for your service. Yes. You're an E7. You're just Sergeant Major would be next. You're still a leader. And I love what you said about NCO guys. I'm with both of them on both sides, but my family was NCO more driven, and I totally get you when you said that. I totally got you. Hey, you do all the work.
Bottom up. The military is built by non-commissioned officers.
Amen. That's right.
Any officer.
That's right.
Any officer tell you they can do it without us, that officer has not had no good NCO.
Hey, they would salute. I see officers here who saluted my my late father-in-law. I used to tell him that all the time. Hey, we love you. God bless you. Please check out MeShorn Daniels and check everything out with more on this. We got some nice little pieces and snippets for all you guys wherever you get your podcasts. We get it right here at Spotify, iHeart, and Apple, Audible, wherever you get it. YouTube, if you want to see MeShorn himself, definitely he tells this guy was a smart guy. I find that so hard to believe he wasn't smart. But know about his challenges in his life. It's all in the book. It's all in the book. And then you can learn more about how we can turn this country around. I think you're on the right path. We need more people to hear about this, and hopefully this podcast will get it out. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We got you there on the Bob Jeswald Show. MeShorn, come on back. We're going to have you again. We'll get together with your publicist.
I can't wait to come back, bro. I love you, man.
Let's do it. I love you, too, and thanks for the Bobby story. That got me right there.